last year, and that's sample.
Just finally gave up. I went in and tried to give blood once and they turned me away. They said no. They have to test
And,
it.
the
Yeah,
fact that you have, the ability to do
I'm fine. We're keeping it.
And Christopher gives all the time.
it's not.
Yeah, no problem. No, like,
It's a lot like post or something, like there was like a sewer, I don't know, a sewer farm, you guys get together and you stuff. You could host those spots. So then I didn't get asked about it. You could host a class.
Of course, news force is the first one with all the
It's not me.
Susan John.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, well, Bill, but he's not
always
logging
very
in
good.
today.
Let's see. That, since I've been hit, oh, Patrick.
There.
There he is. How you doing?
He's a bad
I
liar.
went for my surgery March 6th.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think we're gonna get me one of the fancy. Ice pack things.
Oh, really? Yeah, yeah, with the pump. Yeah, cause I've got one. Actually, I've got two. A little ice cream things.
They help. Everything they help.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Leave it on 24/7. You take like every piece of Tupperware you own and fill it full of water and make giant ice blocks. And it lasts for hours and hours and hours.
I don't like people.
Yeah. Well, no, but we have just had shoulder surgery. Yeah, cause that was my shoulder surgery in both of my knees. So,
How long did you wait up?
what's that for my
Oh.
shoulder? Actually, it rehabbed really quickly, like 5 weeks or so that was pretty tender. The hard part for my shoulder was trying to get my hand behind my back. I couldn't, yeah. After the surgery, I couldn't get my hand any further back than this.
Oh, really?
So you could.
Yeah, it was like 6 months and I finally went to a massage therapist, she spent 15 minutes on my shoulder, it went right up. So massage therapy. Don't stick it.
Still could do it.
I like massages.
TMI.
She is funny.
TMI.
I had, a cramp in the middle of the night in my calf. And like, I couldn't walk the next day because it was like, it hit the sore in the muscle, and I wanted to see Sue, and she, like. We were not friends for a few minutes, but. She got that knot out. And I was
Trying not to
like,
kick you kind of thing.
Like, oh, it was
Yeah.
so bad, I was sweating, I was seeing stars, and I'm like.
Oh, it feels so great.
But then after I could get up and walk, I was like, all right, all that torture.
All right. All meeting to order.
Alright, because we know James isn't gonna be here tonight. This is just intended to be a high level, kind of introductory towards, the budget, kind of go over some of where the money went last year, where the money came from last year, and, where it's gonna go for, the next year. So, there's an introductory here, you can read that, I tried to take a balance and recognize that. It's hard for taxpayers right now, everything is expensive, we all know the whole affordability thing that's. Going on out there, and so I tried to make this as lean a budget as I can, to not add to our taxpayers' burdens. And it is a very lean budget, and there's not gonna be a whole lot of room to cut anything here, so. I'm trying to maintain the services that we can for this year. And make sure that we're, giving people their money's worth, so. You see from the sources of revenue, the chart that we have, this hasn't changed in the last few years, 70-some% of our money comes from property taxes. And the next biggest share is state revenue sharing. I don't have state revenue sharing numbers for this year as of yet, they haven't put them out, so. I'll update some of this stuff as we go. Expenses, again, the other expenses, which include school and county tax and abatements, was a little higher for 2025. because we had the large abatement fee for Maine Yankee for their, tax settlement of $300 and some thousand. So you'll see a difference in this again next year, because that won't be there, but, also remembering that we did give them that abatement, but they paid that same amount as an impact fee, so we didn't lose that revenue. But, and, you know, wages and salaries, we go through this, you're gonna see that personnel are a big part of the town's overall budget. Moving on, there's just some charts to show you some trends, just so you can get a visual on where we're at with things. The top one shows all of the various different accounts that we spend money out of, utilities, wages, and so forth. And the bottom one shows you the proportion of education, municipal budget and county. And, you know, you see that they haven't varied a whole lot in the last few years. In terms of just municipal operations, the money goes to personnel. That 46% is wages, benefits, social security, retirement, training, education. All of that is combined into this one chart, so.
Isn't that pretty standard for any public service thing, that it's almost always, the majority is personnel?
Yeah, because a lot of what we do, like you find your EMS budget, and your police department budgets, you know, some of our bigger budgets, Parks and Rec. Is mostly personnel, you know, 60, 70, 80% of their budget is personnel. When you get down into the wastewater, and when you get to that budget, because I break them out for you, you'll see that personnel is a much smaller percent because of the capital expenses to go along. But it is pretty typical of that. We have 9 expense categories that we expend money out of, 10 through 90. 10 is personnel and wages. This just breaks down what we spend on full-time, part-time salaries, and you guys can see that. And you can see where the trend has been. Over the last couple of years, we've been under some pretty hard wage pressures in all of our departments, EMS and, you know, police department in particular. So it has been driving our wages up a little bit. We're still running behind what a lot of other municipalities are paying, but we are getting caught up, so. Utilities, you know, city utilities, hydrants are the biggest part. Hydrants are over $300,000 a year, more than half of our utilities budget. And that's what that's actually. Services, I listed them back earlier on what comes on with services. Transfer station is a big part of that, because that includes the tipping fees for disposal of waste at the landfill. This year, it's, you know, roughly almost half of our services. Next year, you're gonna notice a big difference. It will be a bigger percentage because we now contract the trash hauling, which will come out of services as well. But that addition here is being offset elsewhere in wages, benefits, fuel, trucks, well, and a lot of other things. So this will look a little different next year than it does this year. And this is not all of the services. This is just kind of where the bigger ones are. Some of the other stuff is in facilities. Insurance, this is another category where employees take out quite a bit of insurance. Almost 60% is just health insurance. But dental, the stipends, FMLA, unemployment insurance, workers' comp is all related to having people on a payroll. When you start adding that all up, you're looking at, you know, 80, 85, 90% of our insurance costs are employee related. Supplies and equipment, I just picked out some of the bigger categories for supplies and equipment. Parks and Rec uses a lot of stuff up there. So they're pretty high. I broke out the sand and the salt. I could have put that in Public Works, but I broke it out so you could see where that went. EMS and some of the other stuff. Repairs and maintenance, you know, a lot of buildings. Take a lot of maintenance, so that's where that goes, but that budget's held pretty steady for the last several years, there hasn't been a whole lot of variation in that. Staff expenses as a whole, Medicare, Social Security, retirement is the biggest part of that. Smaller amounts for training. So much. Debt service, you're gonna see a big change in this next year because that 57-58% for the RSU bond is gone. That was retired this year. So there will be nothing in that line. The police department showing a higher percentage of debt service because last year we decided that we were going to lease police vehicles instead of buying it outright. And so that gets pushed into this category, so that's pushing this percent of the town's debt service a little bit higher.
Excuse me, the RSU, is that paid off and
It's paid off, so
it won't be?
it wasn't. It's not in this budget. When we get to the debt service, you'll see that it's a zero. So next year, this chart will look a whole lot different. Other expenses, I said, you know, abatements, county tax. In education, you see out of the other expenses, the school takes up over 80% of that category of expense. Throughout this budget, you'll see that the school line is the same as this year, because I don't know what their budget's going to be as of yet, so that hasn't been factored into here yet. So that's where the money goes. So yeah, a brief budget summary of all of our accounts. Wastewater and sanitary operations are not included in the bottom line totals because they do not rely on tax dollars. And so I'm just trying to show you what's going to be how this is going to affect the taxpayer. But I do put them in there so that you can see.
But they're not in the total.
But they're not.
They're on there, but not.
They're on there.
If I got out my calculator, then I'd be confused.
Like I said, I'm just trying to show the effect on what the tax would be.
Yeah.
So that's why they're not. So I guess it's up to you guys how you feel about doing this. It had been my plan just to kind of go through each budget really quickly. And just kind of explain what's here and what's not here. It's actually what it's.
Yes,
Building dictionary.
But we also have some department heads here, and I don't know that we need to hold them up for the entire evening, so I might skip around a little bit. And maybe just jump into that, so they don't have to sit here all night, so that's okay with you guys.
Historically done.
So we'll start with. EMS because she's first to the book.
Alphabet. Good times it.
oh no, we got a slash stuff here.
Sadly, yeah, she doesn't like that. So our call volume for EMS is certainly not getting any less. And with the opening of the new senior living center, it's certainly going to increase a little bit from what it has been, just for the nature of the facility, even though it's not a nursing home, which would really jump up our call volume because it's assisted living, but they still are elderly, they still have medical issues that need to be dealt with.
Since they opened, we've had 6 calls for service. At least 1 week.
But I have tried, you know, this is one of our bigger budgets, and I've tried to be as lean as I can on this budget without cutting our service too much. I have talked with Aaron about staffing, and we do feel that at least during the day, during the week, Monday through Friday, we should put on an additional staffing to cover the additional call volumes. We have just, even without the senior living center, we've had an increase in calls, and we're having to call mutual aid more frequently than we would like. Not just from, you know, a cost point of view, because we lose the revenue from those calls. It's just poor service, it takes longer for an ambulance to come from Damascus or Woolwich or Booth Bay, wherever they're coming from. And so I made some adjustments in the payroll to try to keep it down and be able to do that. And we decided that the education stipend that we haven't spent any of the money out of this year anyways, we could cut that to at least half, and maybe even more than that if we need to, and we should reallocated those funds elsewhere. The overtime line is up considerably from where it was, with our full-time staffing now. There's built-in overtime to their schedules. They work 24-hour shifts twice a week, so they automatically get 8 hours of overtime every week. And we haven't accounted for that in other years, but I have accounted for that in this year, so the overtime line is a bit higher than it has been.
Is it,
I have a question about the education, if we could step back just.
Yes,
So is that the line that you use to train new EMS personnel?
So that's the line where we were trying to get, us designated as an American Heart Association site so that we could have like, it's called ACLS PALS and
Sure.
CPR. However, that's proven to be a little bit more difficult, so I can't hire somebody to manage that because I can't get in the door, so I'm trying desperately to do that, but it's just hard where, you have to pass so many goals to make them
Okay,
recognize who it's.
I just wanted to be sure that this wasn't going to be, restricting existing personnel or new personnel from being able to be trained to fill spots as.
No, I'm teaching through Kennebec Valley Community College, I am teaching licensure classes,
Okay,
but I'm not. That's coming out of KVCC doing it through a grant situation.
okay,
Like, we have 4 people that work for us that are in the advanced class that I'm teaching currently. But that's not coming out of the actual ambulance budget,
oh,
it's
good.
kind of like, I traded 4 spots, which is.
she did some horse training.
Yeah.
To help get our people, and this is expensive training, what's the advanced class now?
$10,000 a person.
A person,
Yeah,
so, you know, she saved us 40 grand.
yeah, that's awesome.
So we were able to reduce that, we're still working towards it, but it's just gonna take us a longer time.
Okay.
overtime, it's only at 13,000 for 26 year to date?
Yeah.
That seems,
We don't have full-time staff. We're
okay,
down,
but you're anticipating that next year at this point, you'd be much higher.
so this is based on having 4 full-time paramedics. We've been short 1 full-time paramedic for how long now?
2 years. That I've been
And then,
backfilling. So I have 2 people that are in paramedic school. One of them I have given a full-time position because she's getting done in May. And then I have a second one that is getting done in August. So I haven't offered her a full-time position just because of the distance of the timing. They're also both my children, so I made my own paramedics. But they both are doing very well in classes and such. So.
so, you know, most of that overtime that was built in isn't being used because they're not there, and it's being
Yeah.
filled in with pretty good staff, so.
And where is the per diem?
Oh, down at the
Yeah.
bottom, I see it, yeah, I see it, yeah.
This is one of those things I was telling you about yesterday, where everything goes in order and then all of a sudden it doesn't.
Yeah, yes,
And it gets a little frustrating, so.
okay,
So there was an increase for the medical director stipend this year, and we've been paying $2,000 for 10 years or something, and, you know, he's been very good about it, but. All good things have to come to an end. We did make some adjustments in some of the vehicle, some of the maintenance this year, just downwards, we haven't. I've talked to Ted about whether or not we would need to buy 4 sets of tires, 2 full complete sets of tires this year, and didn't think we would have to, so. I reduced that down from last year, it'll probably come back next year. I did increase the cost of repairs for both of the ambulances, they are getting older. And as you can see, we already spent $9,500 on one of them this year that the rear end went to pieces on, so we increased those. But I try to keep everything else pretty much even, on an even keel as to where it had been, so.
Yeah.
And I don't think a 2.7% increase is bad at all. Because if I were Aaron in that chair right now, I'd be screaming, I want my money.
I trust you know what you're doing.
Hey, it's worked out every
Yeah.
year so far. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
So does anybody have any questions for Aaron?
No, it's the only question I had was on the education piece. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't going to be
No,
making it hard to get people in place.
no, I'm still teaching. It's just, it's been shifted from the town of Wisconsin's responsibility to the Kennebec Valley Community College, where I'm a professor.
Oh, good.
And we are still getting some of the benefits.
Yeah.
Are we getting any income from the Scout Hall?
Well-
Training people?
So the CPR classes I've been teaching at least 1 to 3 a month. So that's kind of cyclical, so every 2 years we have to. Everybody has to get a new card, so every 2 years I get this big rush and then kind of trickles down. But we're teaching at least 1 class a month of 6 people. And then
From out of town?
sometimes like this next month, we're gonna have the church is coming for a class. The dispatch center is sending over a class. The village, the new Albrook, they're sending over a group they're sending over a big group for a class. So there will be, we are doing classes there and people are renting it and using it. Which is nice. And then the Kennebec Valley Community College uses it Mondays and Thursday nights. And it's that the $10,000 per student that we traded, so. That's a good year,
Doing a good job.
trying.
And it wouldn't work out for us well if they had to drive to Fairfield to these classes, that people just, we wouldn't do it, you know, we would be out for providers, so. I think it's been a very good turnout.
Oh, and I know this is a budget meeting, but we are doing a 50th anniversary of the ambulance at Scout Hall in May. So,
Oh, congratulations.
so think about coming and joining us, I would love.
Will there be cake?
I'll make sure there's cake.
Cake, they'll show up.
Yeah, let them eat cake.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So next, I guess, would be planning, and that would be, you know. Not really a whole lot of change in this budget, as I had said. In my introduction, I don't know if everybody read that or not, I have proposed for all of non-union employees, full-time non-union employees, a 5% raise in salary this year. 3% last year. Our union employees last year got 4%, and this year they're getting almost 5%, and the next year they'll get just over 5%. And I don't want our salaries, non-union people to fall too far behind, so. All the budgets have basically a 5% increase for everybody that's not in the union, and that pretty much just. EMS, full-time EMS, salaried employees. Most everybody else is covered. Yeah, so that's it, and you see a lot of this, we did increase some of the services for printing and advertising. You know, we can promote the town a little better, but other than that. You know, health insurance went up 9% this year, so you will see that in every budget. Dental insurance went up 5%, so you will see that in every budget as well. Although when you look through the budgets on health insurance, you will see they vary quite a bit because people come and people go and they change plans, and so it's done. It's, unless it's a one employee department, it's probably not going to be 9%. In some instances, they'll actually go down and get to that. Um. Have anything you would like to discuss with Mr. Rostovsky?
Looks good.
What's the contracted? Oh, no, that's the zero issue.
See, the contract, it used to be the Lincoln County plan.
Oh.
So that was, if you go back 3 years, you'll see contracted was quite high for.
Right, right,
Um,
okay.
And what I did this year was, there will be some contract work being done in planning. With Hartswell, what's his name, Hartswell Strategies, Areas, yeah, so, that's, he's an outside consultant for economic development and things of that nature. And we do call him every once in a while, we haven't opened any contract with him, we pay whatever we use. But I've upped some of the contracted services line to cover that, so it's not necessarily in this budget.
Okay.
All right. Next up would be Mr. Hasselbaum. So the police department budget is showing the largest increase of all of our budgets this year.
Expensive.
It is expensive. It gets more expensive all the time. Personnel costs are a big part of this. And we've been under wage pressures for several years now. With, you know, even across the street and, you know, a lot of neighboring departments pay more money than we are. And they still are, they're still, playing catch up. Fortunately, we have people that have been patient with us and like working here and, you know, work with us to get there, so. But they're working under the current contract, which expires in June, and so. We will have to negotiate the contract within this year. I just, you know, we anticipate that it's just going possible. So, yeah, personnel line is up pretty substantially with that. Some other areas, it looks like I underestimated their property and casualty insurance this year, so I had to up that a little bit. The stipends for the health insurance had gone up quite a bit. Again, this is one of those areas where insurance has kind of shifted around a little bit. From what I had it, we have people that I budgeted last year for family insurance that didn't take it, and then people who took insurance that didn't, and so the stipends go up because we have, I think, 2 that don't take. Area, somebody else that do not take health insurance. Our health insurance stipends have been $300. $300 and $350.
I think it's 300.
They've been $300 a year for several years now. And we haven't raised them. The cost of health insurance has gone up considerably. So I did bump them all up to 42, up from $3,600 a year to $4,200 this year. So you notice that as we go through the budget. The other big area that's increasing the police department budget is the fact that we are leasing vehicles. And that does come out of his budget every year, so that's a line that's increased this year, and we've increased it again next year. Larry's been working on putting a rotation schedule together so that we can move cruisers through. One of the great things about leasing them is at the end of the lease, we can either give them back or we keep them for the dollar or whatever. But it'll be every 3 years, we're trying to.
Well, I think every 3 years, but I think depending on how it goes. With the vehicles we're getting, the better quality vehicles, I'm thinking we might be able to get 4 or 5 years, depending on. If we go in the direction we're talking about now,
Yeah.
we might be able to get longer out of it.
You know, our goal is to try to go every 5. I was hoping 6 years, but that may be it. That may be it.
Well, I think you gotta be careful if you get rid of them in 3 or 4 years and get. Twice the, you know what I mean, depending on what the trade value is, it might be better to get rid of them. At 50,000 miles than 100,000 miles.
So this is kind of an experiment with the lease thing and you know, it'll take a year or two to kind of flesh this out. I stick with the lease because of the interest that we pay on the lease, because we always pay the first year's lease payment right up front. So we save an entire year's worth of interest. You know, we paid $4,500, I think, on the lease that we just signed last night. But leaving that 70-odd thousand, $80,000 in capital reserve will make $30,000. So, you know, this is, I think, good fiscal financial planning that we're making money by leasing these vehicles, not just buying them. So,
Larry, how many miles per average do you put on a cruiser this year?
Well, it depends, like. If, like my vehicle went in service in January of last year. And I think it just turned like 12,000 miles, 11,000 miles. The Tahoe went in
In
service
year?
in February. Went in service in February. And it's got 3 people driving it.
Yeah.
And it's got nearly 50,000 miles on it.
Yeah. See,
So,
as opposed to my private vehicle that I put about 2,000 miles a year.
well, you only go from there to the line, right?
Yeah, I work 2 miles from home.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just, I think it's interesting, you know, people listening in the public here that, you know, the difference in why cruisers only last 4 years.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a lot of miles.
Yeah,
well, and it's harder when you have 4 different people driving.
right.
Exactly,
Because they all drive them a little bit differently.
yeah.
Well, especially with the new vehicles, because the new vehicles, the transmissions. They recognize the driver and they try to,
Adjust, you know.
and it's hard when you got 4 people driving in 4 different driving styles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
And they're not driving the Shaws and back and forth, but some rough rides on them.
So, you know, Larry's budget this year approached $1 million. This will be the first time that the department budget been over $1 million. It was originally Larry's budget that he submitted to me was considerably higher than this. But he knows better. He knows that I'm just gonna say no anyway.
But I asked.
You're gonna ask, right? And my goal actually with this budget even then was to try to push it back under $1 million. Which, you know, I know would only be for a year because next year we'd be right back there again. But I feel by doing that, I'm cutting into, we're just cutting it too thin. And I think we have a very proactive, very efficient police department, and if we don't give them the tools that they need to do their job, then we might as well not have them. And so I backed away from that goal and said, you know, we need to do what we need to do. I'm a big supporter of our public safety agencies, having worked in public safety for so many years. And so these are areas that are difficult for me to want to cut.
No question.
So I have a question. On holiday pay, why was $18,000 for 2026 budget and 41, almost 42 for the projected budget?
Because I actually budget for them to take their pay. So according to their union contract, if they work a holiday, they get paid, they also get an additional pay on top of the holiday pay on top of that. Some of them bank it and take it as time off. And some of them don't, some of them take pay for it, but I've actually budgeted that everybody takes their pay for it. I'm just afraid if I don't, we have a turnover and people take their pay, and I'm gonna come up short.
Right, okay, and then I have another question, which is, and I think that this might be just some kind of math error. Why is life insurance only costing $750 and why is it a 642% increase?
You may have to talk to.
101 to 7.
Oh, it's 101.
To 750 would be.
So the
Oh.
budget this year was only $100. which was probably an error in my part
Oh,
last year.
okay, cause I was looking at the 495 and that we've spent 345,
Yeah.
and then I'm thinking, well, how do we get to 645? But okay, so, okay,
So life insurance is only offered to those employees who don't take our health insurance. If you take our health insurance, the life insurance is included.
Ah.
So those that don't take our health insurance, we pay their life insurance the same that. To the same level that we would if they were on our health insurance. So
Okay.
that's where that came from. And again, this is where there's been some shift in how many people are taking life or health insurance, so it affects all those numbers.
say that's really an expensive policy for somebody doing a very high-risk job. Thank you very much.
I'm so surprised that low.
I know, it's really low.
I mean, you actually have a target, you could just say it.
There we go. Okay, well, that was all my questions for that.
Oh, yeah, the SR, so. The SRO, it's kind of a difficult budget for me this year. Sure it is for Larry as well. As you all know, Sergeant Hatch is out on medical leave. And this budget is really based on him being the SRO. If he does return to duty, then we're fine. If he doesn't return to duty, then I'll have to recalculate this because he does not take our health insurance. And I would have to assume that the next SRO would take our health insurance, which would up this budget by whatever they take. If it's a family plan, it would be $30,000. If it's a single, it would be $14,000. There would be some reduction in the pay level, because he is one of our highest paid employees, but it would not be enough to offset the total thing, so. I'm not sure, Larry and I need to have maybe another conversation about just maybe refiguring this at
If,
a higher level.
if it goes, if Sergeant Hatch doesn't come back to that position. The officer that wants that position doesn't take health insurance. So if I,
So, and I've said this with every budget that we've had, there is a danger in the way I do this, especially with these small budgets like this, and the clerk and whatnot. I've always budgeted for what the employee actually does take. But if for some reason, like when we get to the clerk's budget this year, she just takes a single, she takes a single plan. If she doesn't stay the entire year and I hire somebody that takes a family plan, there's no wiggle room in these budgets to absorb that. Because I'm going from $14,000 plan to a $30,000 plan.
Mhm.
And when your budget is basically, especially just labor, there's not a lot of place to save any money. So that is a dangerous thing that I've done for years, and I've kind of gotten away with it. And sometimes we get away with it because I budgeted full amount for holiday pay that we didn't use.
Right.
Which helped us make up for the fact that we had to pay more in health insurance than we did. So I say, I don't say I've had the budgets, but we have to kind of factor that in, so. So this one I may, I don't know, I'll talk with Chief, because we've got some time and see, but. I may present an alternative budget to this, just to cover ourselves, just in case.
You don't have a lot of
We certainly all want Sergeant Hatch back.
well, I know the school community misses him up there, and we've had some issues up there since we wasn't filling that position, so now we've gone back to filling it part-time. Just because of issues up there, so. And that may be a message to the school as well, that it is a position that they want, and they've been yelling for the past couple of weeks.
Well, maybe they're gonna have to figure out how they're gonna pay more money towards it.
That's what I was
So
saying.
that's a conversation that we can also have with. Kim, and if she doesn't find any outside money for it, then it's either coming out of the left pocket or the right pocket, so it's just coming from the taxpayer. But so just be aware that I may come back with something different, on the SRO. Any other questions for the chief?
Thank you.
How soon after your surgery you're gonna be cleared?
You don't wanna know.
In fact, you're at one.
They told me 6 to 9 months, up to a year before I return to patrol. So I can I can do the administrative stuff, continue, but he said probably at least 6 to 9 after a year before I go to patrol. But I feel like I'm in pretty good health, and I feel like I'm gonna have a rapid recovery, so. If the heart, I'll be all good.
And on rehab.
All right, Rob. So Rob's budget was, Rob and I pretty much agreed on his budget this year. Rob was on a budget that broached the $1 million line for the first time. Which is not surprising, given that actually for the last couple of years, it's been flat. And again, this was one of those that I sat down and I said, I'm gonna push this back under $1 million. And in doing that, I realized, I think we're just being penny wise and pound foolish. The wastewater plant is just definitely costing us more money to operate every year. Especially in terms of the fact that it is getting older. And the replacement is still several years away, and we still have to function until we get there. And so I went back through it again and I said, I guess there's a few areas where I can make some cuts and there's a few areas where we need to increase. A few things. There is an error as I explained to Alyssa, as I'm entering this stuff into Trio, you think it's going in order, you just start entering, because it's only numbers, you don't see any words. it's just numbers. And then they jump out of place. So when you look at the under other expenses, where there's 75,000 in depreciation, that should actually be under capital reserve. It doesn't change the bottom line,
It's funny though.
it just got placed in the wrong line.
It should be in capital reserve?
It should be capital reserve, not depreciation.
It is. It's in the right place.
What is it? Well, no.
It's in depreciation.
This year.
Oh, and there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I see. So funny.
Not a big, huge amount of changes in other places. It looks like contracted services were up a little bit again because of some of the repairs that we've had to do. And so I upped that line. I didn't originally cut it back, but I decided I would, again, be penny wise and pound foolish, so I went back on that. But everything else is, nothing horribly drastic here, 100% increase in lab stuff, but that's because we didn't budget anything. For the last couple of years, we've just been spending some money on it, so.
Big increase on retirement.
Where are we at? Yeah, I think I blew that last year. You can see I budgeted 12,000, but we've already spent 12,000, so I think that was an error in last year's budget that I corrected in this year's. We did cut the loan interest down because the interest it's gone down. We budgeted that 46,000 for the last few years, and that's one area that I actually can take out because the actual cost is going to be less, so we brought that down. So 3.2% increases is certainly not horrible, given what we're faced with in terms of keeping that place running down.
Anything you wanna share?
No, I just wanted to say that many of the big ticket items will be hopefully covered by grants. With 2 pump stations that need to be upgraded, one on Gardner Road, one on Route 1. And moving the controls out of the underground pits, that's another one that will be spending grant money for that one. The one expense that we'll have to deal with grants as well is the perpetual leaking of the sewer main down near Norm's Used Cars on Route 1. And we've had 3 breaks in 16 months there. And we just got the study back from the people who ran the test boring to see if the soil was corrosive, and it's way corrosive in that area. It's corrosive roughly the whole length, but in that area for like 1,000 feet, that is highly corrosive. They have a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the most corrosive and 1 being the least. And then there are other factors that can push it up above 10. And all of our test borings came up between 12 and 18 on the scale. The 18s were right near where the leaks are, the past 3 leaks were. And I know that Ulver had given a rough estimate of putting that out to bid what it would cost, and then just 1,000 feet would be about $700,000. To do the whole 5,000 feet, which would be a nightmare to do, they expect that would be like 3 to 4 million to that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's another item that we'll have to seek funding for.
Mhm.
So we just don't have perpetual leaks there. The DEP has been kind of on my neck a little bit about it, and they want to know what progress did your study determine, and you know, is Ulver making any recommendations? So they have, and
So that, but there are grants available?
yes, and the whole thing is that if we get a grant for upgrading sewer collection system infrastructure, we could use some of that to do it. Because I think that might be a hotter potato than moving my controls up, or,
Yeah.
and that's what those pump station upgrades and the ones for moving the controls, I think would be general collection system upgrades, or sewer system upgrades. So,
So one of the things we'd have to talk with Oliver and about is the $5 million EPA grant that we already have. Which was not specifically worded for relocation. That's why we're using it for the pump stations and electrical controls. We could probably tap into for this if we need to as well, if we can't find something else.
okay,
I'd rather find something else and not touch that, but if we
Okay.
have to, we have to. And this is something that we're probably gonna really need to get done sooner rather than later, because these breaks are costing us what,
25,000 was the last one. And that doesn't even include the fact that that little section, and it's only 30 feet, but it has to be paved because we patched it. The patch may be sound, but the DOT says you can only lay asphalt patch above 50 degrees Fahrenheit. And of course, it was 12 or something. So,
Where I lived in the town I lived in Illinois, half the town had to be redone for the same reason.
so, but anyway, so I'm hoping some of these things can be put out to bid soon, or the controls, the pump
I
station.
think they were planning to put the pump station out this spring.
Okay.
Actually, I'm surprised I haven't heard from them, but we haven't heard back from the EPA yet on the final paperwork. That's what we were for. Everything has been submitted.
Okay,
So we're just waiting on that. So I will check you back.
okay. Thank
All
you.
right, you guys, it's not necessary for you to hang around if you don't wish. How far do you wanna go with this stuff?
Well, our other department has money on coming to other.
Yes.
Maybe-
I mean, if you want, we can go through some of the smaller budgets tonight and just bang them out and done with them so that we can help them.
Oh, you have, well, you have a town office, you have the. You said,
Well, let's just start with administration. When you guys get sick of it, let me know and we'll get done.
is that you, Leonard?
That's me, yeah.
Yeah, okay, well, why don't we all?
So we go through my budget and then I can.
No.
Not a huge amount of change in my budget here. I did put a little more money into the full-time line for an administrative assistant. That's still not considered a full-time job. And one thing I realized this year, and you'll see it in a couple other places, is that we've been putting money in a full-time or a salary line for a person that wasn't salaried. And so I shifted those funds around a little bit and put them where they needed to be. It doesn't change the bottom line, it just makes it better accounting for us. And so that line really should be part-time line.
Not
anyways.
full-time,
The contracted
but
services,
not full-time.
not full-time, but she.
Not full time.
Part-time, okay.
But you actually need to use it this year.
Yes, I know, I do.
So it needs to stay named that.
No, I'm just saying he needs to actually hire the person.
Oh, yes, yes, get on with it.
Move along.
Anyways, so yeah, no, I haven't really changed a whole lot in here. The Aflac insurance is up quite a bit because I just did that again last year. That's not Aflac, that's my income protection.
Did you already talk about the contracted, why it's 10,000 this year, but it's in the.
I gotta look that up because I don't remember why it's 10,000 this year.
And why we're not budgeting anything for it?
But I don't really expect it. Oh, some of that is, I know some of that is the HR consultant that we've been working with this year on some of. The issues, the personnel issues that we had. I didn't budget it in here, I moved it over to contracted services. So that's why that's there, but I don't think it should been, I don't think it's that high, there's something else in there that I'm forgetting about. And I'll look it up and let you know what it is.
Contracted services, a whole different category?
Yeah.
So we do have a budget for contracted services, which is legal and,
Oh, contractual.
yeah.
Okay, so it's just been reallocated.
So, yes, it's just been, yeah. So that's, just small decreases wherever I could for, stuff that I just wasn't spending money on, I just didn't budget for it.
With the animal control.
And we could skip airport animal control. I already warned you guys that we were gonna be over budget on animal control this year. Partly because of higher wages for the county, but mostly because we've had an increase in the number of calls. There's been a lot of dog calls this year, and we've had some injured animals that we've had to take care of. That we're responsible for, so, more calls means more, they have to come out more, we have to pay more in mileage and, more in labor, and so. I upped this considerably, I say considerably, a 43% increase on a $16,000 budget, it's not a huge amount of money. We wanna cover it, the humane shelter budget is what it will be, I've already gotten confirmation from them this year. And so that's why that's up quite a bit. Assessing hasn't changed this year, I didn't do anything more. This budget is mostly the trio license for the assessing part of our accounting system, and it was less this year than I thought it was gonna be, so even if it goes up, I still think, the same amount is gonna be fine for next year. Boards and committees up a little bit, planning board has been pretty busy this year. And it doesn't seem like there's the interest in building in Wiscasset has lessened any. Once we get to the revenue part, when we see our building permits that we've collected this year are pretty high. So I just wanted to cover ourselves in case we, the planning board got a little busier, I mean, it's only a $300 increase.
So fees must do more than pay for the expenses.
Oh, wait.
Way over.
Yeah. Celebrations, I upped the Christmas line, we've overspent that the last couple of years, despite my stern instructions not to. Just have somebody that just doesn't like to listen.
It's Christmas.
It's I know, and that's when I sit back and. I did up the
Humbug.
the 4th of July, for the. Yeah, what was I saying? Oh, fireworks, cause they are just, more expensive.
All right, stop picking on Dennis.
Sorry, it's just been a long day,
No, I need to stop picking on you,
So-
but it was fun.
that's what that is. Cemetery budget's the same as it was last year. I keep it, we really haven't spent it, but we've had this gentleman that's been coming and spending the whole summer repairing a lot of our gravestones. He's doing a great job at it, so I just want to keep the funds in there to keep him he just comes, does his own thing, and
Yeah, yeah, that's
it
important.
just leaves, but he's been doing a lot down at the ancient cemetery, and I've got quite a few comments. So, and remember, that does not come from taxation, that comes from the cemetery trust fund, which just continues to build money every year, year in, year out, because we don't spend it faster than it grows. It's got $2.5 million in it now.
Dead people aren't as expensive.
Clerk's budget is a little bit lower this year, and again, it goes back to what I said about the danger that I have in budgeting some things for single employee shield. Linda used to take a employee and spouse insurance. Rebecca only takes a single. She's assured me she's not getting married this year. So she won't come back and ask for additional.
Famous last words.
Yeah. And
Assures that she will.
and she does make less in wages than Linda because her experience level in her years of service in the town. So
Very good, good. She's doing a good job.
she is, and she's trying very, very hard. And today, well, before I went on vacation, I touched base with the retired clerk that just retired in Topsom. And said, I got 3 pretty green people in here, would you be willing to come and help out? And she said she went on vacation last week, but she called, and I believe she's gonna come in and let me hand, especially with election stuff coming up. You know, Rebecca needs to really be up to date on the election stuff, and she's gonna come in and help her get situated, educated. So I'm pretty encouraged by that. The atmosphere here is a lot different than the last few. So anyways. Code enforcement, this bill, if you look at the second page, that'll show you where some of the money comes from. Code enforcement really hasn't cost us anything in the last few years because of the number of building permits and plumbing permits and whatnot that's going on because of so much construction. And I know there's 50 other houses being planned in town right now to be built, so that's where that comes from. The budget's up a little bit because I've increased his hours from 32 to 35. And the increase in the stipend for not taking our health insurance.
Nice.
Community organizations, again, I have received requests from agencies that we haven't funded, Veggies to Table. I forget, there are a couple, 2 or 3 others, Lincoln County Television. I did not include any of them. If anybody wants to know what they've asked for, I would be happy to pass that on. But generally, each year, you just haven't wanted to take on any more community organizations, so I didn't include any here. What I did do though, because Spectrum Generations did ask for an increase, and they've been the same for several years, and New Hope for Women asked for a very small increase, and they've been the same for several years. I just took it upon myself to increase some of these a little bit this year myself. If you want to cut them back to where they were, that's fine.
That's not a lot of money,
Yeah.
and they do real good work.
You know, and they do good work. Waldo County Community Action, because they asked for money last year, that budget was turned down by the voters. So I did not hear from them this year, I did not put anything in there. I do know that one of their bigger services was medical, non-emergency medical transportation. For this region, for the region that they cover, which is a very small region out of the whole rest of the state. And the state just signed a contract with Mobius to do, I think it was Mobius, or with somebody else to cover the entire state. And so Waldo County Cap lost that contract, so I'm not even expecting that they may even come forward with a request this year, so. I didn't
That's
put it-
fine, cause it might get turned down again, because people
Well,
just look at the name and they think it's not for us, which is
I don't
not
think
true, but.
anybody understood what it was. I mean,
Well, I mean, but it's passed the previous year, so it was a little baffling as to why it didn't pass this year, but But it is, and they, you know, once they started expanding outside of Waller County, they probably should have changed the name to reflect that, and they didn't.
Tri-county area or whatever.
Right. Contingency, I kept the same as last year. That 50,000. Contractual. There were just some move arounds here, there were some new things. And there were some old things that we didn't need. So. The flex cards are down a little bit this year because those, if people do not take our insurance, they do not get flex benefits. And there are fewer people taking our insurance, so we were able to reduce that line down. You can see we only spent 5,600 this year. I did allow myself a little leeway in case something happened. Legal, I upped just a small amount for this year. We may not even spend the 65 that we did last year. Who knows? We actually have shifted a lot of our legal work from Bernstein Shore to Credit Clarity. They're doing a great job for us and their rates are considerably less.
What's the 15,000 for Mason
Yeah.
Station?
I'll get that. The assessor is, you know, part of our contract. Website hosting is contracted. The mapping service was up a little bit because it was, last year was just a partial year. This year will be a full year. I took Maniac Legal completely out. I just don't anticipate there being any problems with them, and if there are, it's just gonna take it out of legal. Labor the same, data processing. I'm not even sure that line, so I'll do that.
What did you do with it for $3,000? Oh, that was
That was
just
the budget.
Oh.
Because actually data processing is kind of covered in the next line with all of the other stuff that's in there, so I just kind of shoved everything into that. The engineering and consultants, I mentioned earlier that some of the consulting that was in other budgets, we just shifted over to contracted services. I upped Mason Station, well, I didn't up Mason Station, it's the same as it was last year, this year's budget was 15. We didn't spend any of it. We're going to spend some of it this year, because we're going to have to spend some of that money to figure out how we're going to get rid of all of those lots down there. And what we're gonna do on the road, and so there's gonna have to be some survey work and some legal work that we're going to have to do before we can get to a point where we start putting the RFPs for redevelopment of that property down there, so.
So do we have to dissolve the subdivision that was formed for there with all those paper roads?
We need to figure that out.
I mean, I was told 5 or 6 years ago, I was told that you have to dissolve the entire subdivision.
You would have to redo the whole thing,
Yeah,
and combine those lots, and that requires, you know, survey work and legal work and title work and deeds, and it's, you know, it can get expensive.
yeah.
And so even though we haven't gotten to that point yet, and didn't spend that money, I did not wanna take it out.
Those lots are too small to put anything on anyway.
They're about as big as this room, so.
I know.
It was it's ridiculous, and so. The increase in the, I don't know why she called it ITT, it just should be IT contract, was. The change from the provider that we had that was doing a very poor job to, ES&S, and they're just, you know. They're just more expensive, everybody was more expensive than Motor Waves was, but. When you're not actually doing your job, then it doesn't matter how much it costs, so, that's why that's in there, so. So just a, you know, a slight increase in, that budget as well.
Okay.
Rob has joined us, Rob is working on his clinicals this evening for his advanced class. So if you don't mind, we'll shift over to fire department budget. I don't think there's a whole lot of controversy in here either. Biggest thing here, there was an increase in compensation for firefighters. Our officials' compensation, I bumped up considerably this year because I realized that, you know, our captains and lieutenants and Some of our fire officers are being paid, have been at the same level for many years. And neighboring towns have kind of jumped up over and above us and so I just. Increased that line, you see, I mean, it's not a huge amount of money, it's about $6,000, but. I've already given you my thoughts on how I feel about public safety anyways, so. I did reconfigure some of so some of the repairs and maintenance on some of the trucks may look a little bit funny. Because I did finally take out the old trucks that haven't been there in some years. And put in the new trucks that we have to match up with what we actually have. And so some of these expenses are not related to the vehicle that you see now from previous years. Because we now have 3 brand new pieces of apparatus. The new rescue pumper went into service 2 Saturdays ago.
The 7th, yep.
2 Saturdays ago. And you guys authorized me to sell the other 2 pieces last night. So, we certainly hope not to spend $10,000 fixing some of these trucks, although that money is, the ladder truck is the older, but it's already been used all that money. So.
Remind, what do we pay for that pumper?
A little, just over 800,000.
I think it actually ended up being a little less because we prepaid it, so it's
That's
like
right.
$780s,
Okay.
$785, something around that range.
There's articles on television about the cost of fire trucks and stuff, that some towns can't afford to get them
It's
anymore.
crazy, it is crazy, and when we're.
It is so bad that I expect that when we put ours out to bid, I think we will get some decent bids on them, because it's just gotten to be that bad.
I've had at least 3 towns already ask me about the engine going up. It's just crazy what they're getting for them.
But it's nice, and the new utility truck has been all out, well, mostly outfitted, we had to put a tank in it.
Yep.
For a good Russian and shit, but time, guys wanna stop by and take a look at the shiny new trucks, so, you know, we'd love to show.
Knock on wood, it hasn't been out on its first call yet.
Hmm.
I don't want to curse myself.
So anyways, you know, you increase wages and Medicare, FICA and all that stuff go up as well, so. That's where we're at.
Is there anything you wanted to share with us about the department?
No, everything's going along smoothly and we definitely appreciate everybody's support with the new trucks and we're right where we need to be and
Good.
equipment wise and.
I wanna hear that. If
Apparatus.
I ever need you, I wanna be there.
Absolutely.
Oh.
What's a new ladder truck for?
Oh, I think Damascotta just ordered one and it was about $1.5 million.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's just, it's just insane what prices these.
Secondhand one, right?
Yep, and we paid $25,000 for that from Cape Elizabeth, what, 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah, John O'Connell is still here.
Yeah, and it,
At least
I
5.
mean, it does everything we need it to do and it's in excellent condition. They kept it really nice and refurbed it in 2008, I think. So I mean, it should last us for what we need it for quite a while.
You're gonna run it often.
No, which is good. And bad at the same time, because you wanna keep it lubricated and stuff.
Run it when you go for a donut run or something.
Grocery store.
Yeah.
And there's actually moving in the fire station a little bit
Yes,
now.
there is a
We got
little
rid
more
of
room.
2 trucks and replaced it with 1, so.
Nice.
Little more wiggle room.
All right,
Progress.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There, back up. County tax, this isn't the actual county tax, most years I've had to estimate it,
Sorry, what are we on?
county tax. But they were able to get the commitment out early this year, so, there's that. I actually, when I estimated it initially, when I put it in here, I estimated it at 6% increase.
Ah.
So I'll try to do better next time, but
You were right.
pretty close, and that's just one of those things that you just have to pay. Debt service, yay, Bill, here you go,
Hey,
debt service, 0.
Leslie doesn't know this, but for years I've been told it's gonna be ending next year.
Next
I
next
am not gonna believe it until a bill doesn't arrive.
Well, I can tell you it won't arrive because the last one we paid showed balance and the balance was zero.
Sure.
Nice.
Until they find a miscalculation on.
Oh, it was-
Sent us a 26-cent bill.
Yeah.
Election budget, I didn't change this year, we haven't really been spending it, so I'll just left it where it was. But with the November election, which is surely going to be very, very busy. They probably will end up putting in a few more hours counting and going through things, so. EMS, we've already done, fire, we've done, finance. This is one of those things where I moved the salaries down to full-time. Bernice was on salary, and it occurred to me this year that Kathy's not, so why do I keep putting it there? It doesn't change the bottom line, but it just puts it really where it should be. So when I give you those figures to say this is how much we spent on full-time, they're much more accurate than they were. Health insurance is down because of, one employee is taking a single, and one is taking a spouse, where before I had one taking a spouse and one taking a family, that reduced the dental insurance as well. And some of the others were just adjusted based on some of the spending of this past year. But, nothing too crazy.
It's a jump in equipment.
Yeah, we've already spent $771 so far this year, we're only halfway through,
Yeah.
so. And that may be one of those things that we just don't spend, buy equipment this year, you know, but, you know, I'm gonna have to buy another one of these boxes for an employee, you know, they're kind of expensive.
They're important.
Actually, you're not kidding, because if they don't sit just right, it could cost me a workers' comp this year. So.
And you have no idea how hard it is to sit in a chair when your feet don't reach the floor. It's incredible that,
Oh, yeah, it's terrible.
yeah, incredible that.
So on equipment. The budget for last year was 600.
For this year.
For this year, it's 1,000 for the upcoming year.
Hold on, let me get back. So we budgeted 600 for equipment. And I don't know what this equipment is, I'd have to
Oh,
go away,
okay.
as whatever it is. We budgeted 600, but we're only halfway through the year, we spent 771.
Yeah,
So it's like,
okay,
everything has gotten a little more expensive.
sure.
Can I cut it back to 600? Yeah, probably, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not. And again, this is one of those areas that gives me just a little bit of wiggle room in case something else goes horribly wrong.
Mhm.
Okay. I'm not gonna penny pinch it, that just was. But then we only spent $90 in 2005.
Right.
It was just according to what you're allocating to that. budget
Printers.
line item.
Probably, yeah.
Okay,
Printers, calculators, house.
I
Okay.
mean, you know, it could be a calculator, it could be a printer.
right, yeah,
You know, and even getting a printer for $1,000, that's what you. Robbie, it's not necessary for you to stay.
No, I just have quick.
Oh, that's right, you have, go ahead, how much further do you guys wanna go?
What does he have?
I'll deal to the file.
oh, great.
Oh,
I mean, we can skip through some of these, because a lot of them we're gonna skip over anyways, because the department's aren't here.
Oh, yeah, that's great. Thank you.
I don't have the life, so I can say it.
Well, I do have to go pick John.
Yeah, you do.
yeah.
You
Or do you
want
wanna
cut?
just call and draw
Well,
one?
let's get, we can get through a couple of these others, and then we're getting pretty much down to stuff that we can't.
Or general assistant.
I mean, general assistance is easy, it's the only increase really is in Kathy's. Kathy's portion of the pay and then some, you know, the increase in the insurance because of just the increased insurance, which also increases the FICA and the retirements. We haven't really hit our generals, we're seeing more general assistance lately than we have the last couple of years. Especially, I think with rental assistance, I've noticed a slight increase, but
Yeah, it's gone up all over.
Municipal building, there isn't a mistake in this. This is an accounting thing. Again, it doesn't change the bottom line. You see, if you look at contracted services, we only paid out $3,500. But if you look at repairs and maintenance, we paid out $33,000.
Mhm.
The reason, and I realized this when I was doing the budget, they started taking, we contract for the custodial services here now. And they started taking it out of the contracted services line where it should come from. And then somewhere along the line, somebody decided it needed to come out of repairs. And so all of the contracted stuff has come out of repairs. We just need to do a general adjustment and put it back up to where it belongs. And so that's the mistake that's kind of happened there. I may take another look at the electricity for this year, because we've used the heat pumps this winter. We didn't use them all winter last year, and we've had an exceptionally cold winter this year. And I know there's been another bill that's come in since I put this out. So I may take a look at that and make sure that I've budgeted enough to cover the increase in electricity, but it will be, you can see that's being offset pretty nicely by the lack of heating oil that we've had to buy this year. You know, we're already through a pretty severe winter. We've only spent $4,600 on heating oil for this building. I think that's substantial. So I may even be able to cut the heating oil back a little bit more if I have to increase the electricity a little bit. And I try to keep everything else pretty much the same. Municipal insurance,
It is what it is.
it is what it is. You know, we don't, because it runs from January to January, not on a fiscal year, we kind of have to pick our best guess. So that's kind of my best guess. The FMLA Insurance Trust is up quite a bit over what we actually spent last year. As you see, we're running ahead of that. It's based solely on wage costs. It's 0.5% on all of our wages. So you know, wages go up, we have to increase that. So that's why that's an increase. We can skip parts, we can skip planning, police, public utilities, not really a change in public utilities. So last year I estimated an increase in hydrants. That's why the budget went up to 335, but he didn't pass on an increase last year. They are gonna pass on an increase this year, but he said it would be about 3%, and that's what I raised it last year, so I didn't change it this year. If it does change, then we'll let everybody know.
So when you say he, who are you talking to?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
Cassette from the water district.
Okay.
Skip public works, let's skip revenue. Selectmen budget, pretty easy. The only change in that was an anticipated increase in MMA dues for next year. Other than that, I kept you all the same, because every time I try to give you more money, you give it back.
If you're in this for the money, you're doing the wrong thing.
Senior center. Not a huge change there, just an increase in meals expense because the cost of groceries has gone up. Right, so I just want to make sure they get covered there. Shellfish budget is only an increase in anticipated bridges. Transfer, we're gonna jump over, this you already done. And waterfront. Waterfront, I probably should throw more money into repairs and maintenance, because things are just.
Do we have Larry here? We should have done.
Yeah, we probably could have, but it really is. He's not gonna, yeah, we can skip this one. Very good try. And your capital improvement budget's all that.
Cool.